Last week was interesting because it was an anime original. This week, however, well, we're back to adaptations again. And sadly, this one is rather meh. And you'll see why. I am MegamanNG and I welcome you to another Ace Attorney Anime Season 2 review. Today we're going to be talking about Episode 7, Recipe for Turnabout First Trial. I'll begin with a summary as well as some of the main points. And there is a lot that I will explain here. So let us begin. It starts as a normal day for Nick and Maya, until Gumshoe arrives and he isn't happy. Through a magazine article, Nick discovers that he lost a case, and in a really pathetic manner at that. There's just one problem. He doesn't remember even taking the case. They figure out that a fake phoenix is responsible, and the suspect in question is none other than Maggey Bird. Now Nick and Maya must find a way to get Maggey acquitted. Again, the only way how is through a retrial. But can the two of them do this when the margin of error being thinner than they realize? Yeah, after last week's episode, which I wholeheartedly enjoyed, we're now moving on back to adaptations again. This time around, it's a retelling of Recipe for Turnabout, the third case of Trials and Tribulations. Oh boy, where do I even begin with this? Let's just say that, yeah, I know that not a lot of people like this case, but the fact that it's getting adapted may tell something. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for this episode, and there are good reason for that. Maggey's back, and instead of being an officer, she's now a waitress at a restaurant called Très Bien. Sadly, her luck is still just as bad, if not worse. How do you go from one murder charge to another? And another murder charge? Oh man, you kind of feel bad for her, don't you? You really do, because let's be honest, this is just like one heck of a mess. A mess for Maggey, and a mess for everyone involved. However, this time around, she was actually found guilty, so yeah, there's that. This episode gives us plenty of introductions, and there are plenty in this episode alone, such as John Armstrong, the owner of Très Bien, and he's a really creepy dude at that. There's Viola Cadaverini, and we'll find out more about her hopefully in next week's episode. There's also the victim Glenn Elg, a programmer who, by some shock coincidence, won a lottery that got him $500,000. Though in the Japanese version, it's referred to 50 million yen. That's a lot. There's also Victor Kudo, who appears in this episode, which I will explain in one of the faults here, and the last one happens at the end. Furio Tigre, aka the fake Phoenix Wright. Compared to previous episodes, this episode's pacing is that, oh boy, at full speed. I mean, they decide to split this episode into two segments. Half of the episode focuses on investigation, and it was rushed. The same can be said on the trial, and it was also rushed. I mean, what happened? I mean, couldn't these guys at least put some time towards investigation like they did in the last case? Which I thoroughly appreciated, but here, it was all just one full-speed rush job. I wonder if this was done to help set things up for the next episode, which is going to be leading to one of the episode's many faults. The pacing is one of the faults in this episode. Not only that, but several key bits are missing from the game adaptation of the case. If you want to know what that means, it's pretty simple. Some stuff is either missing or it's going to be reshuffled in the next episode. We know that Maya ends up going to be working temporarily for Très Bien, but the problem with that is that that stuff is going to be saved for the next episode. And that I feel is the problem. I mean, couldn't they at least have it all, the investigation for one episode, then have the trial in the next one? But no, they had to split it down the middle, cutting some stuff to have it make room for the next episode. I mean, seriously. Everything about it felt like a rush, and anyone who has played this case should know way too well. The trial also felt like a rush as well. Heck, everything was a rush, and that was a problem. Not only that, but Victor appearing in the trial instead of investigating where we get a proper introduction throws this episode into a goddamn mess. It really was. And being that this is the third case in the series, Ace Attorney has had a reputation for having third cases be the absolute weakest. Turnabout Big Top is without a doubt the worst, and everybody knows that. Recipe for Turnabout, I don't really know, but if I were to have opinions on it, it would probably be the second worst, with the absolute best third case being from Spirit of Justice, The Right of Turnabout. That one still drives me to tears, and I am not kidding on that front. Trust me, I'm not. But this episode, yeah, despite the fact that the animation is very good, the problem that I have is the pacing, and I felt that the guys tried to, shuffle things around just so they can have everything fit in a 22-minute episode. That's not good, and that, I feel, is the biggest problem. And I know many of you may either agree or disagree with me, but I personally feel that this episode is without a doubt the weakest. It's the weakest episode of the series thus far. It makes Turnabout Big Top seem really good in comparison. And even Turnabout Big Top has its flaws, and there are plenty of them. This episode was disappointing, but in my honest opinion, if this episode could have been better, they could have just saved the trial stuff for the next episode. Have it be similar to the Stolen Turnabout and have it be like a 4-part episode, giving the case not only time to breathe, but also providing proper introductions all throughout. I just felt that all of this just only bogs the episode down. And like Princess Tara would probably say, yeah, this is a disappointment. This episode gets a 5 out of 10. It's disappointing because of all the issues, such as fast pacing. I mean, the pacing just went on overdrive. Several characters were missing, or rather not introduced until much later, and the fact that it's shuffling along scenes just so they can fit like a 22-minute narrative doesn't help matters much. It could have been better, but unfortunately it was a letdown. I could be wrong, so feel free to disagree with me. So anyways, yes, that is going to be it for this episode review. The only thing I hope is that next week's episode can make up for it. If not, then this alone is going to worry me, and especially the fact that it's 25 episodes, yeah, that's going to be a problem. If you enjoy the video, please be sure to hit the like button. It really does mean a lot to me. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and more importantly, click on the bell. Doing all this helps me out big time. And if you want to support the channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. All it takes is $1 a month. And I haven't gotten any new patrons, and I wish we get more. This is MegamanNG signing off. Peace out. See you next week, and hopefully we get a better episode. Igi'ari!